Shalom, brothers and sisters. I hope everyone is doing well. All praise is due to the Most High Heavenly Father, Yah, and His Son. And today we're going to be uncovering the sun and the actual sun in the sky, not the Father's Son. And see what the scriptures have to say about the sun and what constitutes a whole year. So today's references are going to be the scriptures, the Bible, also the book of Enoch, the book of Jubilees, and the dictionary. If you watch my videos, you know the usual stuff that I use. Okay, so let's start off on Enoch chapter 72.
2. The Sun, Chapter 72. The book of the courses of the luminaries of the heaven, the relations of each, according to their classes, their dominion, and their seasons, according to their names and places of origin, and according to their months, which Uriel, the holy angel who was with me, who is their guide, showed me. And he showed me all their laws exactly as they are, and how it is with regard to all the years of the world, and unto eternity, till the new creation is accomplished which dureth till eternity. And this is the first law of the luminaries. The luminary, the sun, has its rising in the eastern portals of the heaven, and its setting in the western portals of the heaven. And I saw 6 portals in which the sun rises, and 6 portals in which the sun sets, and the moon rises and sets in these portals. And the leaders of the stars and those whom they lead, 6 in the east and 6 in the west, and all following each other in accurately corresponding order. Also many windows to the right and left of these portals. And first there goes forth the great luminary named the sun, and his circumference is like the circumference of the heaven, and he is quite filled with illuminating and heating fire. The chariot on which he ascends, the wind drives, and the sun goes down from the heaven and returns through the north in order to reach the east, and is so guided that he comes to the appropriate, literally, that portal, and shines in the face of the heaven. In this way he rises in the first month in the great portal, which is the 4th, those 6 portals in the cast. And in that 4th portal from which the sun rises in the first month are 12 window openings, from which proceed a flame when they are opened in their season. When the sun rises in the heaven, he comes forth through that 4th portal 30 mornings in succession, and sets accurately in the 4th portal in the west of the heaven. And during this period the day becomes daily longer, and the night nightly shorter to the 30th morning. On that day the day is longer than the night by a 9th part, and the day amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that 4th portal, and sets in the 4th, and returns to the 5th portal of the east 30 mornings, and rises from it, and sets in the 5th portal. And then the day becomes longer by 2 parts, and amounts to 11 parts, and the night becomes shorter, and amounts to 7 parts. And it returns to the east, and enters into the 6th portal, and rises and sets in the 6th portal 31 mornings on account of its sign. On that day the day becomes longer than the night, and the day becomes double the night, and the day becomes 12 parts, and the night is shortened and becomes 6 parts. And the sun mounts up to make the day shorter and the night longer, and the sun returns to the east and enters into the 6th portal, and rises from it and sets 30 mornings. And when 30 mornings are accomplished, the day decreases by exactly 1 part, and becomes 11 parts, and the night 7. And the sun goes forth from that 6th portal in the west, and goes to the east, and rises in the 5th portal for 30 mornings, and sets in the west again in the 5th western portal. On that day the day decreases by 2 parts, and amounts to 10 parts, and the night to 8 parts. And the sun goes forth from that 5th portal, and sets in the 5th portal of the west, and rises in the 4th portal for 31 mornings, on account of its sign, and sets in the west. On that day the day is equalized with the night, and becomes of equal length, and the night amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts. And the sun rises from that portal and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises 30 mornings in the third portal, and sets in the west in the third portal. And on that day the night becomes longer than the day, and night becomes longer than night, and day shorter than day, till the 30th morning. And the night amounts exactly to 10 parts, and the day to 8 parts. And the sun rises from that third portal and sets in the third portal in the west, and returns to the east, and for 30 mornings rises in the second portal in the east, and in like manner sets in the second portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day the night amounts to 11 parts, and the day to 7 parts. And the sun rises on that day from the second portal, and sets in the west in the second portal, and returns to the east into the first portal for 31 mornings, and sets in the first portal in the west of the heaven. And on that day the night becomes longer, and amounts to the double of the day, and the night amounts exactly to 12 parts, and the day to 6. And the sun has therewith traversed the divisions of his orbit, and turns again on those divisions of his orbit, and enters that portal 30 mornings, and sets also in the west opposite to it. And on that night has the night decreased in length by a 9th part, and the night has become 11 parts, and the day 7 parts. And the sun has returned and entered into the second portal in the east, and returns on those his divisions of his orbit for 30 mornings, rising and setting. And on that day the night decreases in length, and the night amounts to 10 parts, and the day to 8. And on that day the sun rises from that portal, and sets in the west, and returns to the east, and rises in the third portal for 31 mornings, and sets in the west of the heaven. On that day the night decreases and amounts to 9 parts, and the day to 9 parts, and the night is equal to the day, and the year is exactly as to its days 364. And the length of the day and of the night, and the shortness of the day and of the night arise. Through the course of the sun these distinctions are made, literally they are separated. So it comes that its course becomes daily longer, and its course nightly shorter. And this is the law and the course of the sun, and his return, as often as he returns 60 times and rises. In other words, the great luminary which is named the sun, forever and ever. And that which thus rises is the great luminary, and is so named.
Okay, so let's break this chapter 72 down in the book of Enoch. So we know the sun comes from the east and sets in the west. It rises in the east and sets in the west. Okay, so on the first month, it rises from the fourth portal and it sets in the fourth portal for 30 days. On the second month, it rises from the fifth portal and sets in the fifth portal for 30 days. On the third month, it rises from the sixth portal and sets in the sixth portal for 31 days. Now, on the fourth month, it rises from the sixth portal again and sets in the sixth portal for 30 days. So it stays in that sixth portal on the fourth month. Then on the fifth month, it comes from the fifth portal and sets in the fifth portal for 30 days. So now it's making its way back up again. And on the sixth month, it comes from the fourth portal and sets in the fourth portal for 31 days. And then on the seventh month, it rises from the third portal and sets in the third portal for 30 days. On the eighth month, it rises on the second portal and sets in the second portal for 30 days. On the ninth month, it rises from the first portal and it sets in the first portal for 31 days. So now on the 10th month, it rises from the first portal and sets in the first portal for 30 days. So now it's working its way back down again. In the 11th month, it rises from the second portal and sets in the second portal for 30 days. And on the 12th month, it rises from the third portal and sets in the third portal for 31 days. And that is the completion of 364 days. So if we look at this a little bit more closely, you can see that it's broken down into quarters. Every third month has a 31 day. The third month has a 31 day. The 6th month has a 31 day. The 9th month has a 31 day. And the 12th month has a 31 day. That's how we get our seasons in the 4 quarters. Okay, so if we look at this diagram, in the middle, in the red circle in the middle, that is the equator line. Now that right there is a transitional spot from the 3rd portal to the 4th portal, and from the 4th portal to the 3rd portal. So as far as the equinoxes go, the spring and fall equinoxes, that usually happens around March 20th and September 22nd. That's the 2 times the sun passes over the equator. The orange line in the middle is portal 1, and the yellow line on the outer is portal 6. And that's the 2 times we get the winter solstice and the summer solstice. And the winter solstice usually happens around December 21st, 22nd, and the summer solstice usually happens around June, around the same time, 22nd. And I mean, vice versa, if you're in the southern hemisphere, is, opposite, obviously. Okay, so underneath the red line, the equator, the red line is actually the transitional point where it goes from 3rd to 4th. Okay, so underneath that red line is the 4th portal, and underneath the 4th portal is the 5th, and the yellow line being the 6th portal. And the red line, back to the red line on top, that being the transitional period again, on top being the 3rd portal, on top of that 2nd portal, and the orange line being the 1st portal. Okay, so let's look at a little video that might help better explain what I'm talking about. Okay, right now it's in the 1st portal. It's going to work its way down to the 2nd, 3rd, equator line, 4th, 5th, and now it's in the 6th portal. Now the middle portal, right, the middle equator line, that's the transition period right there where it goes from 4th to 3rd and 3rd to 4th. Now that, it happens twice a year, once in September 20th and once in March 20th, right around those dates. And again, when it's in the 6th portal and it's in the 1st portal, that happens twice a year. And that happens in December 20th and June 20th. Right around that time, you can look at it. Okay, so let's check out another video real quick from another angle.
Here comes the sun. Watch closely. As you can see, when positioned on the equator during the equinox, the sun reaches its true zenith, which means it is directly overhead at 90 degrees. As you can also see, the sun travels the celestial equator here perfectly. It is currently 1 p.m. It will continue to traverse the celestial equator until it sets. Now, let's rewind the sun to 1 p.m. and see what happens as we progress through the months of the year, keeping our time fixed at 1 p.m. As you can see, the sun at 1 p.m. changes position. It weaves between the celestial equator like a serpent. I understand this is quite hard to visualize, so let's spend some more time on it. To conceptualize this, we will use 4 different points in the year: the equinoxes and the solstices. Here is the path of the sun throughout the day at the equator during the spring equinox. And now the summer solstice. And the autumn equinox. And finally the winter solstice. As you can see, there are 2 forms of motion here in regard to the sun. The first is a daily motion across the sky, and the second is the yearly drifting of this daily motion to the tropic lines of latitude and back. The annual drifting of the sun to the tropic lines is the obliquity of its path. Let's now relocate to 50 degrees latitude in the northern hemisphere and see what this looks like from this location. This is the spring equinox. And now the summer solstice. The autumn equinox. And finally, again, the winter solstice. While it appears that the sun's height is changing throughout the year, it is ultimately an optical illusion. For instance, during the solstices of 50 degrees latitude north, it appears that the sun is higher in summer and lower in winter. But if we change our perspective to face southwest and combine the 2 images, you can see the sun is not increasing and decreasing in height during its annual journey, but its location relative to the celestial equator changes. Therefore, it looks higher in the summer in the northern hemisphere as it is journeying the Tropic of Cancer, and therefore closer to those living in this location. And it looks lower in the winter as it journeys the Tropic of Capricorn as it is further away. There is a very profound paradox surrounding this, and we will explore it much later in our journey. But play around with vanishing point vectors and it may become apparent. In all its simplicity, the obliquity of the ecliptic is nothing more than the geographic limitations of the sun's annual pathway. And these limitations are located at 23.4 degrees north and south of the equator. And as you saw in this demonstration, as you can see, the celestial equator remains fixed here, but there is another line carrying the sun. This line is called the ecliptic. And as you can also see, the ecliptic has both northerly and southerly limitations. The sun does not track past this line to the north and this line to the south in its annual journey. These lines mark the tropic lines of latitude, Cancer and Capricorn, which form at 23.4 degrees north and south of the equator. If the ecliptic is the annual path of the sun, then the obliquity is the northern and southern limitations of this path. There is no 23.4 degrees tilt of the Earth, but the sun deviates 23.4 degrees either side of the celestial equator during its annual journey.
Spotlight overhead as it revolves around the central pole in 24-hour cycles, illuminating the areas beneath it, then disappearing beyond the scope of the observer's perspective as it moves farther away, creating the illusion of sunrise and sunset.
Okay, so let's get a recap real quick. Now, when the chapter 72 starts, it starts off at the 4th portal. Then it goes down to the 5th portal and then the 6th portal. And then it also breaks down how long the day is and how long the night is. And if you notice, as it goes from the 4th to the 5th and 5th to the 6th, the day increases and the night decreases. Then when it spins back around on the 6th, then goes down to the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd, and then the 1st portal. And all that time you see the light, the daytime decreasing and the night increasing. Then it goes, after that, spins around on the 1st portal again and comes back on the 2nd, 3rd portal, and it stays at the 3rd portal for 31 days. And on that 31 days, it says there's an even amount of light and an even amount of night, even amount of day and even amount of night. And that makes 364 days. Okay, so if you go to timeanddate.com and go under sunrise and sunset, you can look up to see when, the sunrise and sunset begin and end, and even moon rises and all the phases. So if you follow my channel and you've seen my other videos, you know that I believe that South Africa is Israel. And I wonder under where I personally believe the temple is and where Jerusalem is, and went under to see when does the sunlight and the daytime and nighttime are even in length. And that's in September 18th it falls on. So they celebrate the spring equinox in South Africa in September 22nd, September 23rd. But according to the website, the light is even at sun when the daytime and nighttime are even. That's when it's 364 days. So if you go right there, that's in September in South Africa, in Namibia, on the 18th, the light is even. And on the next day, you could see on the 19th, the light is a little bit more than the darkness. So on the 19th is the new year. The new year begins on the 19th. The last day of the last year is 18th of that day. So that would make 19 the first day of the year. And if you count 14 days, 19 being day one, from that day, you would be at Passover. And the next day after the 14th day, which is the 15th day, you would be sitting at Feast of Unleavened Breads. So, okay, Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 says, "And Yahuwah said, Let there be lights in the firmament of the heavens to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. Okay, so the sun's job is to give light upon the earth in the daytime and to separate the day from the night. Also, the sun controls the year. Also, the sun also controls the months. So it's in charge of the day, the months, and the years. It also says in the scripture that the moon was appointed for the seasons. Now, my understanding, and this is just my understanding, please understand, my understanding, that when it says the moon was appointed for seasons, that means like the new moon and the full moon, the festival, the holiday. But the seasons as far as winter, spring, summer, fall, that's controlled by the sun. But the moon does follow the sun. So it might mark, like as far as it marks the seasons, it could, like, the moon has some days 29 days, some days 30 days. So other websites say 28 to 30 days. So maybe on the 31 days, there's probably like a 29 and a half or 30 day moon cycle that marks the changing of the seasons. But as far as winter, spring, summer, fall, all of that, from what I see, my understanding, the sun controls all of that. Okay, so let's go to the book of Jubilees, chapter 6, verse 31.
Thus it is engraved and ordained on the heavenly tablets. And there is no neglecting this commandment for a single year, or from year to year. And command the children of Israel that they observe the years according to this reckoning, 364 days. And these will constitute a complete year. And they will not disturb its time from its days and from its feasts, for everything will fall out in them according to their testimony. And they will not leave out any day, nor disturb any feasts. But if they do neglect, and do not observe them according to his commandment, then they will disturb all their seasons, and the years will be dislodged from this order. And they will disturb the seasons, and the years will be dislodged. And they will neglect their ordinances. And all the children of Israel will forget, and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons, and seasons, and Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the order of the years. For I know, from henceforth will I declare it to you, and it is not of my own devising. For the book lies written before me, and on the heavenly tablets the division of days is ordained, lest they forget the feasts of the covenant, and walk according to the feasts of the Gentiles, after their error and after their ignorance. For there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons, and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason the years will come upon them when they will disturb the order, and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And they will confound all the days, the holy with the unclean, and the unclean day with the holy. For they will go wrong as to the months and Sabbaths and feasts and jubilees. For this reason I command.
Okay, so let's get a little review on that. Let's break that down real quick. Book of Jubilees, chapter 6. We're going to start at verse 31 and or verse 32. And command thou the children of Israel that they observe the year according to this reckoning, 364 days. And that's what constitutes a year, 364 days. We went to the book of Enoch, it said the same thing. It actually says that in 2 places in the book of Enoch. Okay, so if we go further down, and right there on verse 34, it says, and all the children of Israel will forget and will not find the path of the years, and will forget the new moons, the seasons, and the Sabbaths, and they will go wrong as to all the orders of the years. Now, the Most High said earlier in this same chapter, verse, that there was 364 days. He says that twice in the book of Enoch also. Okay. And verse 35 just says how we were going to forget everything and follow the Gentiles. Now, in verse 36, it says, for there will be those who will assuredly make observations of the moon, how it disturbs the seasons and comes in from year to year 10 days too soon. For this reason, the years will come upon them when they will disturb the orders and make an abominable day the day of testimony, and an unclean day a feast day. And it goes on to tell you, but right there tells you that there will be some that will, make observations of the moon, and they will follow the moon and gonna go wrong because the moon has 354 days. The sun has 364 days. So 364 days is what the Most High says constitutes a year. Now, I'm going to break down the moon on the next video. Okay, so let's go back to this time and date map for South Africa when the sun is even, and that's on the 18th. The night and day is even on the 18th. So that makes the 18th 364 days. And that makes 19 day one of the new year. Okay, so this is a 2024 calendar. This is September, and 19 being the new year, the first year of the year. So 19, 10 days, counting 19 is on the 29th, and that's we separate the lamb. And then on the next month, on the 14th day, which is on the next month, which is a Thursday, is Passover. The next day after that, Friday, which is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, starts for 7 days. And then on the 10th of October, the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And this is for this year, just an example. But if we go back to September on the 19th, which is the first day of the new year, it falls on a Thursday. Okay, and the last day of last year falls on the 18th, where the light on the first day, it's even. That's the 18th. Now, if you go back to last year on September and look it up, when it falls on a Tuesday. If you look it up next year on 2025, it falls on the 19th. Okay, and it moves up in the calendar. So every 7 years is a sabbatical year. Okay, so I personally believe Thursday is the Sabbath. Just my personal belief. I'll make a video of that, and I'm gonna make a video of the new moon. But the days 364, and if you put it in this calendar, modern day calendar, it moves throughout the week, and every 7th year is a sabbatical year. So meaning when the 364, how it moves throughout the calendar, the last day moves throughout the calendar every year. When the 364 day lands on the Sabbath, in my personal opinion, it's on a Thursday. When it lands on that, that is a completion of 7 years. Okay. And then 7 times 7 equals 49. Okay. We have laws in the scriptures about the 7th year and the 49th year, because after the 49th year, the first year is a Jubilee year. So thank you for taking the time to watch the video. I hope I made it make sense. The next video I'm going to make is going to be about breaking down the moon. All praise is due to the Most High Heavenly Father and His Son. And you brothers and sisters, stay safe out there and do your own studying. Please This is just my opinion and my opinions only. I'm just sharing how I came to my conclusions, or, what I believe.